and to be the change.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.
Welcome to Vital Signs, where we share what's real and relevant in healthcare, wellness, and peak human performance. Remember, this show is for educational purposes only. It is not medical advice. Remember to always seek advice from your practitioners prior to changing your routines. Today, you're in for a treat. We have our resident expert in molecular medicine. Yes, I'm talking about Dr. Nathan S. Bryan, founder and CEO of Bryan Therapeutics. Welcome back to the show.
Jen, great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for coming. We really enjoyed the conversations the last time, and I really want to dive deeper into some of the topics we had talked about. We talked about what nitric oxide is and why it's crucial for our health, but will you just put that review in for anyone who might have missed it before?
Sure. So nitric oxide is a molecule that's naturally produced in the human body. Interestingly, it's a gas, and it's a gas that once it's produced, it's gone in less than a second. But during that time it's around, it signals. It's a cell signaling molecule in the body. It regulates blood pressure, blood flow. It mobilizes our own stem cells. It prevents the telomeres, the ends of our chromosomes, from shortening. And it improves mitochondrial function. And really, those are the hallmarks of every single chronic disease. So as we lose the ability to produce nitric oxide, that's recognized as the earliest event in the onset and progression of most, if not all, age-related chronic disease.
And so let's dive into that, the whole nitric oxide and aging, what transpires, if you will, as we age. How does that production change over time? And what is the definition of aging anyway these days?
Well, years ago, we thought aging was just really we're constantly wearing ourselves out. And aging is the inability to repair and replace dysfunctional cells that then work properly. And it's nitric oxide that's the signal that tells our own stem cells to mobilize and differentiate. So when we look over the past 20 or 30 years at kind of the age-related decline in nitric oxide production, if you're looking at the general population, the older we get, the less nitric oxide we make. And on average, by the time we're 40 years old, we've lost about 50% of the nitric oxide we had when we were younger. And it's this loss of nitric oxide that you can see here is what leads to plaque deposition, plaque instability, decreased blood flow, inflammation, and really advanced aging. So nitric oxide is considered the holy grail as an anti-aging molecule.
And so as we think about this and we think about the natural decline, 50% by the time we're 40, like let's not even talk about when we get to my age. But what are some of the things that we as a public can start to do to either reverse that if we're on the other side of that decline, and or to preserve what we have functioning internally within ourselves?
Well, the good news is we have the answers. On average, if you look at that population-based studies, we know that doesn't have to be the case. We can actually slow and prevent this age-related decline in nitric oxide production. And best, we can even reverse it. So I tell people all the time, you just stop doing the things that disrupt nitric oxide production and then start doing the things that are clinically proven to promote it and activate its production. So we'll take those step by step. So number one, if you're using mouthwash, you have to stop. Part of the role of the oral microbiome, the bacteria that live in and on our body, are to produce this molecule nitric oxide. When we use things like fluoride in our toothpaste, which is an antiseptic, when we use an antiseptic mouthwash that kills the bacteria in the mouth, the good and the bad, then that destroys nitric oxide production. Number three is you have to stop using antacid. Antacids completely shut down nitric oxide production in the human body. So if we get rid of fluoride, stop using mouthwash, and wean off of antacids, now the body is actually primed to produce nitric oxide on its own. We can do moderate physical exercise, high intensity interval training, as little as 2 to 3 minutes at a time to get our heart rate up, increase our breath. And then, moderate sunlight exposure, 20, 30 minutes of sunlight a day will activate and stimulate nitric oxide release and production. And then just a balanced diet in moderation. Throw in some more green leafy vegetables, which are enriched in nitrate, then the bacteria can utilize this molecule to make nitric oxide in the body, improve blood flow, improve oxygenation, and basically lead to all these anti-aging signaling cascades that we discussed earlier.
So I want to dive into a couple of things that you talked about, because I know I'm going to get the question. Number one, stop antacids. What about naturally occurring antacids? What about some of the foods that we're eating? Do we have to think about what that is? Or are we just talking about pharmaceuticals?
Well, really, the data are specifically on a class of antacids called proton pump inhibitors. These are PPIs. These are your drugs like Prilosec, Prevacid, Nexium, omeprazole, pantoprazole. These were once only prescription medications, but now you can buy them over the counter. So those are the ones that appear by the data to completely shut down nitric oxide production, lead to an increase in blood pressure, and really the data are telling us now that it increases the risk of heart attack, strokes, and Alzheimer's by as much as 40%. People who have been on these drugs for 3 to 5 years have a 40% higher incidence of heart attack, stroke, and Alzheimer's. So it's really those drugs we're talking about. We just don't have a lot of information on other things like sodium bicarb, things that buffer the stomach acid, but the drugs specifically that completely inhibit stomach acid production in the stomach are the ones that are leading to a decrease in nitric oxide production.
Fantastic. So if we're doing the natural route or the foods that we're taking in, we don't have any data to say one way or the other, so we're pretty safe as far as that's concerned.
Well, we just don't know is the answer. I mean, the foods we eat are dependent upon the stomach acid to digest proteins into amino acids, to absorb nutrients like magnesium and selenium and iodine and chromium and even iron and calcium. So when you shut down stomach acid production, not only do you lose the ability to absorb basic micronutrients and vitamins, we completely shut down our body's ability to make nitric oxide. So your body cannot and will not heal without stomach acid. And I encourage people, if you're taking an antacid, whatever kind, whatever class, that we have to have stomach acid in order for our body complete digestion to occur and as well to absorb nutrients from the foods we eat.
And I'm going to ask you a question about this because the antacid conversation, I've gotten feedback on this conversation in other realms because it impacts our nutritional uptake.
Sure.
But what can we do if we're having symptoms that are very uncomfortable from a food standpoint? Are there practices that we can take from a holistic lifestyle or how we are eating that can actually help with mitigation of those feelings of stomach acid, excess stomach acid?
Well, paradoxically, acid reflux is a symptom of insufficient stomach acid production. Everybody's different. If you have a history of eating certain foods that cause gastric discomfort, bloating, then just avoid those foods. But here's what we can do. We can acidify the lumen of the stomach. So prior to every meal, I encourage people to take some apple cider vinegar. That will acidify the lumen of the stomach to now we can actually digest proteins, because reflux occurs when we're taking something in our body that the body doesn't recognize or like. And if you're taking in protein, whether it's dairy protein, wheat protein, gluten protein, or even animal protein, and you can't break that protein down into amino acids, which is dependent upon stomach acid, then your body tries to expectorate it and get it out of the body because your body sees it as a foreign particle. And that's what causes the reflux. So if we can acidify the lumen of the stomach with apple cider vinegar or encouraging stomach acid production, then reflux will go away. Again, it's a symptom of insufficient stomach acid production. We have to promote normal stomach acid production in order to promote healthy digestion.
I'm really glad that you gave us something to do. And so if you're listening to this at home, there's a really easy fix if you're having reflux or acidic stomach symptoms. It's apple cider vinegar before your meal so that you can prime the pump. It's like priming your stomach for digestion so you can absorb all the amazing nutrients that you're eating. And as a result, reduce those symptoms. And the other thing that I really want to point out that to you, if you're watching or listening, he said it is critical that we pay attention to the symptoms of the foods that we're eating. So if we're eating a food group and we always are bloated after or have a symptom, just removing that from our diet will actually alleviate the symptom. And that's very, very common in today's world. How could you, if we're experiencing these symptoms, and you're very well versed on the science side and very knowledgeable, but how do we begin to know what foods are causing those symptoms?
Well, I encourage people, if you're having digestive issues or you're developing foodborne illnesses, just keep a food diary. Write down everything you put in your mouth any time of day, whether it's something you eat, you drink, supplements, medications. And then if you start to develop symptoms, mark down the time of that. And what happens inevitably is patterns will start to appear. You'll notice that once you ate this or did this and you develop these symptoms 2, 3, maybe sometimes half an hour later, then you'll start to develop a cause and effect relationship. And then it's easy to recognize what's causing the discomfort. And it's really, you got to listen to your body. Our body speaks to us all the time. Symptoms are our body telling us that something's not right. And we have to pay attention, take corrective measures. If we don't, then we develop chronic disease.
Absolutely. And it's dis-ease. Like disease is dis-ease. It means that our body is not at ease with what we're putting into it and how we're moving in it and how we're functioning. And the last thing that I wanted to ask you about, particularly because it's been raining for like 2 days, when there is no sunshine, when it is raining and the weather is precluding us from getting that 20 to 30 minutes of sun per day, what is something that we can do?
I'm a big proponent of infrared light therapy. I wake up every morning and I sit in an infrared sauna, and that's that first light. It really allows you to reset your circadian rhythm, and especially in the winter months, and people who live in Scandinavian countries, up in the northern hemisphere where there's less daylight, especially in the summer. Infrared light therapy is extremely beneficial. It's therapeutic. The data out there are really powerful. So even if you can't get out on the sun, an infrared sauna or any type of infrared light therapy, full spectrum infrared, I think is best. But really, there's no substitute for sunlight exposure, because then you're getting full spectrum of natural sunlight, 20 to 30 minutes a day, first morning or midday is typically the best.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. We do have to take a brief break, but we will be right back after these messages.
These are the top 3 questions I get from people about investing in real estate. How much money do I need to get to the next level? How do I find good properties to invest in? Can I even make money in this business when interest rates are so high? I answer these questions and many more in my online course, SFR University, where I show you the strategy that I used to build a multi-million-dollar real estate business in 4 years from scratch. Whether you're just starting out or someone who's looking to scale, this course will have something for you. Join us at sfruniversity.com. See you in the course.
Are you nearly maxed out on your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you? Good, because I personally researched some companies that can help you. They may be able to reduce your credit card balances by 50% and stop the late fees. If you qualify, please call our special debt hotline number right now for a complimentary free 5-minute consultation. Deal with your credit card problem now before it gets much worse and put more money back in your pocket. Trust me, I've been there too. Call right now.
Call 855-993-2096 right now. That's 855-993-2096.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's a great idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans in your area. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now. Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.
Welcome back to Vital Signs. Remember, this show is educational purposes only. It is not meant to be construed as medical advice. As always, before changing your routines, check with your healthcare professionals. We are here with Dr. Nathan Bryan, founder and CEO of Bryan Therapeutics. He is a resident expert in molecular medicine and all things nitric oxide. Before the break, we were talking about nitric oxide and aging, how the production changes, things that we can do to reduce or turn back time, if you will, the reduction in that production. So one of the things that before the break you mentioned was stop mouthwash. And I know this question is going to come up. Is this all mouthwash? What about when I go to the dentist and they have me swish with hydrogen peroxide? What about all of these other things? Clue us in. Is it all mouthwash? That is a challenge as far as this is concerned.
Well, here's what we do. We have to rely on the data. And the data we have to date are based on antiseptic mouthwash, things like chlorhexidine, alcohol-based mouthwash like Scope, Listerine. I mean, the Listerine on the bottle says kills 99.9% of the bacteria in your mouth. And that's true. And there's consequences to that. So anything that's targeted or marketed as antiseptic means that it kills bacteria, the good and the bad, is typically detrimental to your health. So here's what we're finding, that when you use mouthwash, it destroys the microbiome, the oral microbiome. So that means it kills the good bacteria along with the bad bacteria. It shuts down nitric oxide production. We see an increase in blood pressure in people who use mouthwash, and you lose the protective benefits of exercise. So think about this. If you're eating a good diet, you're exercising, you're thinking, you're doing everything that you're taught, and we know about health and optimization and wellness, but you're using mouthwash, you completely eliminate the benefits of everything you're doing from diet and exercise. So we have to be cognizant that 2 out of 3 Americans wake up every morning and use mouthwash, and 2 out of 3 Americans have an unsafe elevation in blood pressure. And it's not coincidental. There's causal relationships now that destroying the microbiome shuts down nitric oxide production, causes an increase in blood pressure.
And so for our viewers, if they've been doing this and they're going, oh my goodness, I want my oral microbiome to be proper because I want to be able to have everything that I'm doing work for me, but I've been doing this. What do I do now?
Well, the good news is that the microbiome is extremely resilient, just like the human body. And in a study we published in 2019, we showed that if stop using mouthwash for 4 days, just 4 days of cessation, we can restore the oral microbiome, we improve its diversity, and we improve nitric oxide production, and we see a normalization of blood pressure. So regardless of if you've been using mouthwash for a year, 5, 10, even 20, 30 years, if you stop, the data that we published reveal that 4 days after you stop, we start to increase the diversity of the microbiome, they repopulate, and you can start making nitric oxide again. So it's not irreversible damage. The body's extremely resilient, the microbiome is resilient, and we just have to stop interfering in it. We've got to support the microbiome. We cannot destroy it.
And I guess the next question is, how do we support that? Is there are there some things that we can do to support that as we make these changes towards a healthier lifestyle that is going to allow us to optimize our production?
Yeah, there is, but it's very confusing and it's a very crowded market space. There's dozens, if not hundreds, of dietary supplements on the market that are marketed as a nitric oxide product. But the truth is, I've tested these 99% of them don't do anything to improve your nitric oxide production. So buyer beware. There's a lot of charlatans out there. There's a lot of products that are marketed towards nitric oxide, but they do not improve your nitric oxide. In fact, many of these products that are in the form of beets and gummies, these beet products in gummies and chews actually destroy the microbiome. They cause cavities, they disrupt the oral microbiome, and they basically shut down endogenous nitric oxide production. So those of you taking gummies and chews for your vitamins, for your beets, or whatever else you may be taking in the form of gummies and chews, you must stop. These are fads. That's not a way to deliver nutrients. The last thing Americans need is more sugar, seed oils, and the wax in this hydrated matrix that basically disables any ingredient or any vitamin that you put in a gummy or chew. So gummies and chews are to be avoided. There are products out there that actually produce nitric oxide. We've been doing this for more than 15 years. So we make products that actually, if your body can't make nitric oxide, our technology does it for you. But this was based on 20 years of basic science and understanding mechanisms in the human body, how nitric oxide is produced, what goes wrong in people that can't make it. And then and only then, once you understand that, can you start to develop rational, safe, and effective product technology.
So I'm going to ask the next question, because we talk about supplementation a lot on this show, and there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of snake oil and out there across the board in supplementation, and we are biodiverse individuals. Everyone's a little bit different as to what foods we have, we can tolerate versus not. For example, just a basic example, or where we have an allergy or what have you. So. How do we know I need to supplement? And then, is supplementing this an always thing, or is this something that we can test for and supplement while our body is optimizing, and then ultimately we are going to pull back once we get our body back on track? How does that work?
Well, unfortunately, because nitric oxide is a gas that's produced in the body and it's gone really quickly, there's really no way to test blood levels like we do cholesterol or vitamin D or things like that, because it's not a number we can quantify and pick up in peripheral blood. So really what we have to rely on are symptoms. If you have an unsafe elevation in blood pressure, really anything over 120/80, that's a first sign and symptom of nitric oxide deficiency. Or some type of sexual dysfunction in men or women. If you can't dilate the blood vessels of the sex organs, that tells us your body can't make nitric oxide. If you're starting to lose your memory, these are more advanced stages of nitric oxide deficiency. Insulin resistance, diabetes, is an advanced stage of nitric oxide deficiency. But I tell people all the time, there's only two people who really need to consider nitric oxide as a daily supplement or some type of therapeutic once we get these approved. It's if you're sick and want to get well, you certainly need to consider nitric oxide. Or if you're like me, if you're well and don't want to get sick, then you should take nitric oxide. So if you're one of those two people, then I think nitric oxide should be part of your foundational daily support, because we live in a toxic world. The food we eat is depleted of certain nutrients, many nutrients that lead to insufficient nitric oxide production. So I think it's just a healthy practice to take a daily nitric oxide supplement. Number one, to give your body the source of nitric oxide if it can't make, but also improve the body's ability to make it, so that as you get older, you don't become nitric oxide deficient and you can hopefully overcome age-related disease.
And I'm going to ask the next question that's on my mind with this conversation. And that's, how do we know which supplements are good? Like, how do we know which ones have efficacy behind them? Because it seems like you can research everything and there's a study to support everything, even though we well know that, sometimes it's not true science. Maybe it's paid for by the distributor, et cetera. So how do we find the right quality supplements?
Well, the dietary supplement industry is still the wild, wild west, despite a number of regulations put in place over the past couple of decades. But remember, nitric oxide is a gas. It cannot be delivered in a capsule. It cannot be delivered in a gummy. And we make an orally disintegrating tablet, which means that as this lozenge falls apart, it generates nitric oxide gas. And really, that's the only way that we figured out in 25 years of research. How do we deliver a bioactive gas? And we made the first and only solid dose form of nitric oxide gas. So if it's in a capsule, it can't work. If it's in a gummy or chew, it certainly can't work, because nitric oxide has to be activated in the saliva and basically be delivered orally through the body. And that's really the only way it works, in an orally disintegrating tablet. We also make a fermented beet powder that we've pre-converted it so that when you put it in solution, it generates nitric oxide gas. So the only way you can tell is through really quantification and verification that that product actually produces nitric oxide. So look for companies that are nitric oxide centric. Look for inventors or formulators of the product who actually have some experience in the nitric oxide sciences, published papers in the nitric oxide field, and that can verify that that product actually produces nitric oxide gas.
Thank you so much. That was exceptionally helpful. And what comes to my mind, and it's not this, is I remember the old Alka-Seltzer commercials where you can see the gas coming up when you put the tablet in, only this is happening inside of our mouth.
That's exactly right.
Fantastic. So we've got that, folks. If you're having some of the symptoms, and I just want to briefly go over the symptoms again, blood pressure elevation, sexual dysfunction. Oh, that was my question. Sexual dysfunction. There's a whole lot out there. It's a hot topic right now, and everybody's spinning it on hormonal dysfunction. Like, what's the difference?
Well, it's to get an erection in men or women, we have to dilate the blood vessels of the sex organs to increase blood flow to get engorgement. And if we can't dilate the blood vessels because the blood vessels can't make nitric oxide, then you don't get engorgement, and that's the root cause of erectile dysfunction. And again, it's not just a male disease. This occurs in female too. If you can't dilate the blood vessels of the sex organs, women become anorgasmic. You don't get the increase in pressure, which is necessary for an orgasm. So it's really and if you have vascular disease in what we call endothelial dysfunction in the vascular bed of the sex organs, that same dysfunction is occurring in the coronary arteries. The same dysfunction is occurring in the arteries of the brain. You have systemic disease. It just manifests itself in the sex organs because it's no longer able to dilate upon need.
Got it. So it's kind of a cause and effect. Make sure if you're having any of these symptoms, figure out what the cause is. If it's vascular disease, think about nitric oxide as a solution. And if people would like to learn more about you, have questions, or would like to learn more about this process and educate themselves and take action, how can they reach you?
Well, I send people to my YouTube channel. It's Dr. Nathan S. Bryan, Nitric Oxide. We provide education, information, and really trying to build the awareness around nitric oxide. My educational website, drnathansbryan.com. It's educational. We've got videos on there that are streaming here. I do a monthly blog. For those of you who want to read our scientific papers, you can search me on PubMed or any search engine. Google my name or search my name. You'll find it. And for those interested in our product technology, it's n101.com. That's the letter N, the number 1, the letter O, number 1.com.
Thank you so much for your expertise. I really appreciate it. For those of you who are at home, make sure you check out his website. It's incredibly informational. He has a fantastic blog where it really breaks it down in a way that those of us who are not into the science side of things can understand it and take action in it. But the most important thing is that you take action. So based off of what you heard today, if it's the mouthwash, if you're doing the mouthwash thing, stop. If you're doing the fluoride thing, stop. Let's do the things that are within our power to take control of our greatest asset, which is our health. Thank you again for showing up today, Dr. Bryan. It was really a pleasure.
Thank you, Jen. My pleasure.
We will be right back after these messages.
Are you nearly maxed out on your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you? Good, because I personally researched some companies that can help you. They may be able to reduce your credit card balances by 50% and stop the late fees. If you qualify, please call our special debt hotline number right now for a complimentary free 5-minute consultation. Deal with your credit card problem now before it gets much worse and put more money back in your pocket. Trust me, I've been there too. Call right now.
Call 855-993-2096 right now. That's 855-993-2096.
These are the top 3 questions I get from people about investing in real estate. How much money do I need to get to the next level? How do I find good properties to invest in? Can I even make money in this business when interest rates are so high? I answer these questions and many more in my online course, SFR University, where I show you the strategy that I used to build a multi-million-dollar real estate business in 4 years from scratch. Whether you're just starting out or someone who's looking to scale, this course will have something for you. Join us at sfruniversity.com. See you in the course.
Are you nearly maxed out on your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you? Good, because I personally researched some companies that can help you. They may be able to reduce your credit card balances by 50% and stop the late fees. If you qualify, please call our special debt hotline number right now for a complimentary free 5-minute consultation. Deal with your credit card problem now before it gets much worse and put more money back in your pocket. Trust me, I've been there too. Call right now.
Call 855-993-2096 right now. That's 855-993-2096.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's a great idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans in your area. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now. Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.
Welcome back to Vital Signs. If you're just tuning in, you're going to want to go to nowmedia.tv, click on shows, go to Vital Signs, and catch the first half of this show. It has been pure gold. And now we are going to shift gears because I want to welcome our next guest, JC Lopez, president of Hona CBD, and he is going to go really deep. We're going to dive deep into all things CBD. What can we do? What do we need to be knowing about with regards to this? Welcome to the studio, JC.
Thanks, Jen, for having me. Super excited to talk more about CBD and all the questions that arise around CBD.
So CBD, buzzword, we see it a lot. But as a general population, we really don't have a firm understanding of what it is. And is it really different than THC? So give us the deets.
Yeah, absolutely. So CBD or cannabidiol is a compound that can be derived from hemp or cannabis plants. The main difference that separates it from THC is it just doesn't get you high. So THC is actually psychoactive that gives you that high feeling, while CBD is more about promoting balance and wellness without any of those mind-altering effects.
And so as we talk about this, we get all of the benefits without any of the side effects. What are some of those primary health benefits? How does CBD interact with our system?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first part of this, it's there's a lot of questions surrounding the health benefits, and there's a large amounts of studies that are going on currently and that have gone on that came with the 2018 hemp farm bill. But really, CBD has a range of potential benefits. It may help reduce anxiety and stress. It can ease pain and inflammation, improve sleep, and support overall mental health. People also kind of find it really helpful for managing symptoms of neurological disorders and chronic conditions as well. The way that CBD actually interacts with your body is through your body's own endocannabinoid system. So CBD works with your endocannabinoid system, which is like our body's regulator of things like mood, pain, and immune response. And it interacts with the endocannabinoid receptors to help keep everything balanced and running smoothly.
So I know the next question is going to be, is there an amount that is there for prevention? Is there a way to do too much? How do we know as a consumer? How do we become an informed consumer as far as it's concerned, as far as CBD is concerned?
Absolutely. So the dosage with everything, we always recommend, start low and go slow. Everyone's body responds differently to the different amounts of dosages. But we really recommend kind of starting with a low dosage of 25 milligrams, whether that's in a gummy form or even 30 milligrams with just your CBD oil drops. And those are kind of standard across the board that you'll start seeing with a lot of the companies out there. As you start to really feel the benefits that are coming from CBD, we recommend going up based on your body weight. And really the difference on that is just, how does it affect you? So it's going to affect everyone very, very different. I know some people that are taking CBD and they use low dosage amounts starting at 10 milligrams or even 5 milligrams on the lowest level. But overall, really start low and go slow. There's a lot of different ways to take CBD, whether that's orally. There's also topical measures that you can take as well if you're wanting some targeted relief. But yes, there's a ton of different ways to take it. But again, with the dosage, go low, start low and go slow.
And so, as always, anything that we're looking at on this show is for educational purposes only. It's not medical advice. But as we explore this CBD conversation, talk to me a little bit about bioavailability, because we know that with all supplements, sometimes things are absorbed in different ways. For example, if something is sublingual, it requires something different than if it's like a capsule and it's going to digest in our system. So talk a little bit about how that bioavailability works and differs depending on what we're hoping to achieve.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're taking it orally, the bioavailability, really on the bioavailability, what is that? It refers to the amount of CBD that actually gets absorbed into your bloodstream when you take it. It's important because it affects how much of the product you need to take to get those desired effects. The different methods of consumption, like oils and edibles or topicals, again, have different bioavailability rates. So really choosing the right one can make a big difference. And so, the delivery method for oils, moreover, you're going to take it under the tongue and you're going to let it sit there for a couple of seconds, and it's going to absorb through your tongue. It's going to absorb through that way. And then if you do take it in an edible way, there's the bioavailability on that really kind of reduces because it's actually getting digested through your system, and you're actually not getting the CBD until it kind of gets in contact with your liver and the stomach, and it starts absorbing in that way. But yes, there's different methods of consumption, and really just choosing what works for you is best.
So based off of this, you said start low, go slow. If I'm going to start low and go slow, and I'm thinking about an oil, I'm going to absorb a lot more out of that oil than I am from, for example, a gummy or another thing that I'm digesting. So is that something to consider when we look at this and we decide that this is something that we want to enter into maybe our wellness and prevention program, or maybe when we want to use it because we're having mood or pain or other immune system situation? Is there a preferred method to test the waters as we begin the process?
Yeah. So if in that way, what we would recommend is taking a half a dose of that milliliter So every milliliter, all the oils, they have the topper, and they have the little dropper. All of those are 1 milliliter. Start taking a half, see how you feel, see how it's actually coming into play with your endocannabinoid system and how it's kind of regulating your system. And so in that case, those are easy dosable amounts. And then when you're looking at the gummy side of stuff, you want to go with a company that's has their COAs available. By law, they are actually required to have a COA attachment or QR code on the jar themselves. So always be very cautious whenever you're scrounging the website. There's a lot of CBD providers out there, but you want to make sure that these companies are actually third-party testing their products to ensure that you're getting a correct dosage amount as well, and you're not kind of overdosing yourself by accident. Again, you cannot overdose on CBD. It's actually one of the more healthy kind of substances out there. You cannot overdose on CBD. You can't get high from CBD, even if you take 1,000 milligrams. We are not recommending that because you may get sick, through your stomach. It kind of cause upset stomach by overdosing in that case. But overall, just look for companies that are that have those third-party tests out there for you to view.
Awesome. I couldn't agree more. I'm a big fan of being an informed consumer. And it's really important that we do due diligence because, as with anything, this is considered a supplement, and it's
Yes.
kind of the Wild West in supplementation. We actually talked about that in other regards earlier on the show. And so it's really important to be informed, do your research, and understand what you're getting, and look for that third party research. It's so incredibly important to make sure you're getting what you're paying for. And so before we break, can CBD be used as a preventative health measure? And if so, what does that look like in our daily routine?
Absolutely. So really, there's a lot more research that's needed. And luckily, through the help of the Farm Bill of 2018, we're now getting that research. And so some evidence suggests that regular CBD use might help maintain overall wellness and prevent certain health issues. It can potentially also reduce stress and improve sleep quality. There's a lot of minor cannabinoids that are in CBD. Has been identified over 250 different cannabinoids and terpenes. And so, there's a lot of research that are suggesting that it can act as a preventative measure in a ton of different ways. But the biggest part, and what I always say to my friends and family, it'll help keep the inflammation at bay. We all suffer from inflammation in some way or another. And again, inflammation is it's your body's natural immune response. And so, yes, I think there's a lot of promise and showing preventative measures. But yes, more research is definitely needed.
And that's the same way with pretty much anything. I was in medicine for 20 years in sports medicine. And it's funny because in the 90s, what we thought to be true about nutrition is completely different than what we know now, because as time goes on, we're able to discover more things. We're able to test more things and isolate different things. So really, I appreciate that you're continuing to point out, listen, we still need to study this. We still need more information. And it's true. It's true with everything in nutrition, because one of the key aspects when we look at this is we know that biodiversity exists. All of our bodies need different things. Some of us have allergies to different things. So I'm going to ask that question because I know I'm going to get it. I know people are going to ask, is it possible to be allergic to CBD?
I have never came across that aspect. I am a Redditor, so I'm always trying to get that first party data from some of these consumers that are out there asking those questions. I have not personally came across anything or read anything in my studies, but I do believe that there may be some causes. There's all kinds of different things that are out there. And so there is a possibility for an allergic reaction. We always recommend talking to your healthcare provider before getting on the supplement if this is the right move for you. So taking that extra step will help hopefully avoid any of that.
Fantastic. And of course, we don't know until we take something that we're allergic to. But the other side of that is always make sure that you're well informed about what else is in your supplements, because you'll find there's a lot of fillers in some of the things that are out there.
Yes.
So thank you for sharing this. What I heard is There's a tremendous amount of potential use cases for CBD. Start low, go slow, biodiversity, listen to your body, pay attention, and pay attention to what it is that you're hoping to achieve with this and document, because that's how we're able to ensure that we can keep our inflammation at bay and move forward. We do have to take a brief break, but we will be right back after these messages. Are you drowning in a sea of medical records, spending countless hours in the documentation? Picture this, a cutting-edge AI-powered tool designed specifically for the healthcare industry that streamlines your workflow, reducing time and effort spent on tedious medical record research. Introducing DataDive, your lifesaver in medical record review. Say goodbye to manual data extraction and hello to efficiency. Our advanced artificial intelligence delves into vast medical databases, swiftly extracting relevant information so you can focus on what truly matters, patient care. Imagine having a virtual assistant at your fingertips, tirelessly working to compile comprehensive medical histories, treatment plans, and diagnostic reports. DataDive not only saves you time, but ensures accuracy and completeness in your documentation. DataDive adapts to your unique needs, learning from your preferences, constantly improving its performance. It's like having a dedicated research partner that evolves with you. The future of healthcare is here. Artificial intelligence meets medical expertise. Partner with DataDive and embrace a world where your valuable time is spent caring for patients, not drowning in paperwork. Your patients deserve it.
How would you like to go on a 5-star vacation for just $99? We're talking about the quality of a Westgate resort for $99. Not for one night, but for 3 fantastic nights at one of their luxurious destinations across the United States. And you'll even get a free $100 Visa gift card just for making a reservation. We've got some of the choicest destinations that you'll love in the United States that you can choose from for just $99 for a 3-night stay. Take your family, take a special loved one, but get away. Go on vacation with Westgate Resorts. Call now to make a reservation for just $99, and you get a free $100 Visa gift card. Call Westgate right now and book your vacation. Here's the number.
Call 877-930-3491. That's 877-930-3491. Again, 877-930-3491.
Welcome back to Vital Signs. If you're just tuning in, remember that this show is for educational purposes only. It is not meant to be taken as medical advice. And before you try anything new in your routine, make sure you check with your medical practitioner. We are here talking with JC Lopez, president of Hona CBD, about CBD. What is it? Why is it a good option for some of us? Can it keep inflammation at bay? Can it be used preventatively? And so much more. And I want to dive right into the next question that I have, which is pain management. This is one of the key areas that I have seen CBD mentioned a lot. A lot of people experience pain, chronic pain. And I would love to ask you, how does CBD help with chronic pain management? What are some of the type of pain conditions that can be effectively treated with CBD?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. And, coming back to the endocannabinoid system, that's really how CBD helps manage some of that pain, some of the chronic pain that you may be getting. It can reduce inflammation and alter kind of pain signals, offering relief without the side effects that come with traditional pain meds. So, in the endocannabinoid system, you have CB1 receptors and CB2 receptors. The CB2 receptors is actually what's going to attach that CBD to some of those pain nerves that you may be feeling, whereas the CB1 actually regulates on the more mental side of stuff.
And so as we look at this, I heard some key things, and I come from sports medicine. I'm a physical therapist by trade. I don't and inflammation is a large part of the pain cycle and
Yeah,
pain equation. And so by reducing inflammation, that can see a reduction in pain, 40-60%. And of course it's subjective, right? Pain is always
absolutely.
got a subjective
100%.
component. So how does CBD interact? Like, what does that look like? How rapidly can we expect a reduction in inflammation? How rapidly can we expect relief if we were to begin utilizing CBD as a pain management tool?
Great question. And really, the answer to that is dependent on how you're actually taking it. If you're taking it via topical, we've seen as quick as 5 minutes in reduction of inflammation. Whereas on the gummy side, you may start feeling some of those effects within a 30-minute onset. And so it really kind of depends. But there's tons of products out there that can really help alleviate, and also the dosing in those products as well will be important, and how fast these products actually help you achieve some of that reduction in inflammation or chronic pain as well.
And before the break, we were talking a little bit about bioavailability and uptake, really. And
Yeah.
so when we think about topical, talk to me a little bit about how that works, because some people, they're surprised that you can actually absorb this through the, like, how does that work? How does it absorb through the skin? Like, how do I know if it's working? So talk me through the process.
Yeah, so really, without getting scientific, because I'm not on that side of science, it just absorbs through your skin, and it's actually getting to those nerves, that central nervous system, immediately, and attaching to those endocannabinoid receptors. Again, I want to kind of express in a more friendly way of what the endocannabinoid system is. I honestly say that it's a sister to the nervous system because it acts in a lot of the similar ways. Your body has it. It's not something that you just kind of come up with whenever you start taking CBD, but the endocannabinoid receptors, really those CBD, whether you're taking it topically, like we're talking about, it's going to absorb through that skin and penetrate through that nerve system and the endocannabinoid system to actually absorb and reduce that inflammation.
And talk to me about how it differs from traditional pain management techniques. I mean, we all have had an injury or have known somebody with chronic pain, and a lot of times they're on an anti-inflammatory medication, some sort of a pain medication. There's a lot of other different treatments that are out there in the traditional medical system. So, what is different about utilizing CBD in a pain management standpoint? And how do we understand what's the right dosage is, especially with a topical? How often do I put the salve on? Because a lot of times it's mixed with something else. There's other ingredients. So how do we as consumers sort through that noise?
Yeah, so tons of questions there, but let's start off with really kind of how does it compare to the traditional pain management or pain medications, really? So CBD, again, it's just a natural, holistic alternative supplement with fewer side effects and lower risk of addiction or dependence compared to opioids or NSAIDs. And so it doesn't come with that risk of overdose or severe gastrointestinal issues, especially if you're taking it orally. Coming to the side of the topical, right? So whenever you get a topical, you'll typically see the amounts of milligrams of CBD that it'll have on the jar. However, you're not getting that total amount with every single small scrub that you're doing on that isolated area that you're trying to help manage the pain with. And so, it's what I would recommend is just, testing it out very slowly. If you're doing a salve or if you're doing a topical, get a little bit, just rub it on the affected area, and then continue using as needed. And so on that level, that's very easy to actually kind of use. And then coming on the dosage side for CBD gummies, again, a low dose, 10 to 20 milligrams per day, and gradually increase it as needed is really a good approach to coming to understand how to take the dosage of that CBD.
And when we're looking at, I want to speak specifically to the topical, because there's a lot of topicals out there that have a lot of different ingredients. Maybe it's got menthol, maybe it's got other things in it, because combination of treatments and therapies sometimes gives you a bigger immediate response. So how do we, as consumers, look and compare the products that are out there from a topical standpoint?
Yeah, again, I'll come back to looking at the label and understanding what's in the actual mix of the topical. Again, you should be able to view immediately via QR code on the COAs. So just scan it on your phone. And typically what you want to look for whenever you're coming to some of these CBD products, especially topicals, is understanding what is all in those what's in the product overall, and making sure that they pass the metals test, right? All of these bad kind of things that come into contact with the topical itself, that in a manufactured lab, if they're not a GMP certified manufacturer overall. But yeah, just look at the third party lab results, what's coming from there. Typically, what's required from some of these third parties and what they're providing is a full panel test, which will give you very transparent results of what's actually being tested.
And transparency has been a big topic for years. When we think about informed choice. So I'm going to ask a question, and you may not know the answer to this. And
Right.
if you do,
Yeah.
even better. If you're a student athlete, there's certain tests and certain things that we can and we cannot have. Informed choice is a big deal. Can student athletes in either the NCAA or in high schools utilize CBD as pain management?
Yeah, so when it comes to that and strict laws, what we would recommend is using an isolate. So isolate CBD takes out all of the THC. So it's 99% pure CBD. It very, very low or non-detectable CBD THC amounts. So the isolate's going to be the way to go with that. If you're looking for something that's more full spectrum and has the benefits of the entourage effect when getting all of the terpenes and the cannabinoids blended in one full scoop. You want to talk to whoever's doing the testing, right? You want to talk to your advisors. You want to talk to your sports agents to ensure that they're not testing for certain substances. And if so, get cleared, right? Again, when it comes to the full spectrum side, there's minor amounts of THC. But really on the easiest side of this, look at hemp-derived products for CBD. Hemp-derived products don't naturally produce THC, or they have very, very low amounts of detectable THC, but go with what's legal. The legal amount nationwide is less than 0.03% of THC in full spectrum products. And so you want to make sure that you know exactly what's in your product. Again, go to the COA. It will tell you 100% what's on the label, what you're getting per dosage, and if there's any detectable amounts of THC. So if you want to stay away from that, stay away from it, but become prepared and understand that there's a lot of things in there. There's a lot of resources online to understand how to read the COAs as well, because it can be a little confusing. But typically, our third-party testers have made it super simple, and they highlight everything across the board that you typically need to look out for.
Well, thank you so much for this. It's been really informative. And just to kind of wrap it in a bow, because we've given a lot of information. CBD, we have these endocannabinoid receptors. They exist within our body. That is what CBD bonds to. And if you're concerned about, is there THC involved? If you're concerned about sports or athletes, or maybe you're in a field where you get tested, make sure you check out that COA. It is so incredibly important to be informed as a consumer what it is that you're consuming and putting in your body, on your body. Remember, our skin is our largest organ, so even a topical counts. It will show up in your bloodstream. That's how these things work, folks. So thank you so much today for your expertise. I really appreciate you, JC. How can people reach out to you if they'd like to learn more?
Yeah, come to our website if you want to check out our products, honacbd.com. We're on social media at honacbd. Drop us a like or give us a call. Our phone number is 877-905-7114, or email us at support@honacbd.com.
Thank you so much for your expertise today.
Thank you so much, Jen. Have a great one.
And you, yes, you, all good things do come to an end, including this show. But the good news is we will be here same time, same station next week. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.
If you're on supplemental oxygen, heavy and awkward tanks can be a burden. Now, you can leave home and leave the tanks behind with Inogen, portable oxygen therapy that moves with you.
With my Inogen, now I'm able to do the things that I've always loved. I just press the button here, and there's my oxygen.
Inogen systems are so small and light, you're free to leave the house without the hassles of an oxygen tank.